It was the early hours of August 31st, 1997. In Paris, the city of light, the most photographed woman in the world climbed into the back of a black Mercedes Benz. She was tired, hounded, and frustrated, but alive, vibrant, laughing only hours before. Within minutes, Princess Diana would be fighting for her life in a mangled wreck inside of the French tunnel. And by dawn, the People's Princess was gone. Today, we're not just revisiting the crash, we're diving deep into the shadows around it. The missing CCTV, the suspicious toxicology results, the one man who survived, bodyguard Trevor Reese Jones, and the stories he did and didn't tell. Some say it was an accident. Others call it an assassination. One thing's for sure. The official story has cracks. And this is The Tunnel. Diana, Dodi, and the bodyguard who lived. Let's rewind. Paris, August 30th, 1997. Diana and Dodi Al Fayed are staying at the Ritz Hotel, owned by Dodi's father, billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed. The plan? Slip away quietly to Dodi's private apartment. But of course, nothing was quiet around Diana. The paparazzi were waiting outside every door. So a decoy plan was hatched. A second car that would leave the Ritz main entrance, drawing the swarm of cameras. Meanwhile, Henry Paul, the Ritz's acting security, would drive Diana, Dodi, and Trevor Reese Jones out of the back of the black Mercedes. It was just after midnight when they rolled out. The car accelerated onto the streets of Paris, headlights flashing, paparazzi scooters trailing close behind. At 12:23 a.m., the Mercedes entered the French tunnel. Less than 10 seconds later, it struck the 13th concrete pillar head-on. The impact was catastrophic. Henry Paul was killed instantly. Dodi died at the scene. Diana was critically injured but still alive. And in the front passenger seat, bodyguard Trevor Reese Jones was somehow still breathing, his face shattered, his body broken, but still alive. That crash scene has been dissected 1,000 times, but what happened next is what fueled decades of suspicion. Almost immediately, French authorities blamed Henry Paul. His blood test showed a blood alcohol level 3.5 times over the legal limit. Add in traces of Prozac, a prescription antidepressant, and Tiopride, an antipsychotic, and it painted a clear picture. The chauffeur was reckless, drugged, and drunk. Case closed, right? Not so fast. Because just minutes before, the hotel CCTV captured Henry Paul walking, standing, even greeting paparazzi calmly. Not to stumble, not a slur, nothing like a man supposedly pickled in vodka. Then there's the strangest findings of all. His blood also showed 20% carbon monoxide saturation. So that's the kind of reading that you'd expect from someone poisoned by exhaust fumes. At that level, Henry Paul should have been visibly sick. Head pounding, skin flushed, barely functional. But he looked perfectly fine. So what gives? Was the blood mislabeled? Contaminated? Swapped? Even the British inquest, years later, admitted the toxicology looked off. Yet officially, the narrative stuck. Henry Paul was drunk, reckless, and drove them all to their deaths. For conspiracy theorists, this was a little too convenient. And then there's Trevor Reese Jones, the only one who survived. Trevor was no rookie. He was a 29-year-old ex-paratrooper, trained in the Special Air Service. He'd seen combat, he'd been a medic, and he was hired to keep high-value targets alive. That night, he climbed into the front passenger seat, buckled in. His seatbelt and the airbag in front of him are the only reason he survived. But survival came at a cost. His entire face was destroyed. His cheekbones, nose, and jaw shattered. His ribs snapped. His lungs punctured. He slipped into a coma for 10 days. Surgeons rebuilt his face with over 150 titanium parts. When he woke up, Trevor's memory was gone. He remembered walking to the car. He remembered sitting down. Then nothing. The tunnel was a black hole. In his memoir, The Bodyguard Story, Trevor insists he doesn't believe in assassination theories. He writes that the crash was a tragic accident, the result of speed, paparazzi pressure, and most crucially, no seatbelts. His worked, Diana's didn't. Trevor also shares the pain of betrayal. After the crash, Mohammed Al Fayed, desperate to prove it was murder, accused Trevor of lying, of holding the truth. But Trevor stood firm. He has no memory of the crash, no secrets to tell, just scars, guilt, and silence. Okay, here's where things get murky. The unanswered questions, the what ifs. First, the missing CCTV. Paris is a city drenched in cameras. Yet somehow, every single camera along the route, including those inside the tunnel, either wasn't working or wasn't recording that night. Authorities call it coincidence, skeptics call it a cover up. Second, the white Fiat Uno. Several witnesses saw a small white car clip the Mercedes right before the crash. Investigators traced it to a man named James Anderson, a photographer with ties to intelligence services. 3 years later, Anderson was found dead in a burned-out car, his body charred, his head shot. French police called it suicide. Many didn't buy it, obviously. Then there's the flash. Witnesses reported a bright flash inside the tunnel seconds before impact. Years later, leaked documents revealed that MI6 had considered using strobe lights to blind drivers during covert operations. And finally, the royal family themselves. The Queen remained silent for days after Diana's death, fueling public fury. Theories spread that the monarchy, or shadowy figures within the establishment, couldn't stomach the idea of Diana marrying Dodi, a Muslim man, and potentially raising a half-Egyptian stepbrother to the future king. Wild? Maybe. But for some, the official version, drunk chauffeur, tragic accident, just never fit. Diana's death didn't just break hearts, it broke the monarchy's armor. The Queen, criticized for her silence, was forced into a rare live address to the nation. The public demanded humanity, not protocol. The Windsors had to adapt. Laws around paparazzi tightened, though never enough. The press circus that hounded Diana simply moved on to new prey. Mohammed Al Fayed never let go of the belief his son and Diana were assassinated. He pours millions into private investigations, press campaigns, and court battles. Trevor Rees Jones eventually left security work for a quieter life, scarred, disfigured, and forever carrying the weight of survival. And Diana, she became more than she already was, the people's princess. She became a symbol of compassion, of rebellion, and of tragedy, but also of questions that never found answers. Princess Diana died in a tunnel in Paris, but she never really left. Her image, her voice, her presence, they remain everywhere. What also remains are the doubts. Henry Paul's impossible toxicology, the cameras that mysteriously failed, the white car that vanished, the flash that no one could explain, and the bodyguard who lived but can't remember. So what was it? Chaos? Chance? Or something designed, hidden in plain sight? We may never know, but here's the truth. Diana's story didn't end in that tunnel. It became legend. And legends, unlike people, never die. Thank you so much for tuning in to Southern Fried Felonies, and I will see you next week. Thank you.